share the story with me again in relations to Ford versus Ferrari, what you just mentioned.
Yeah, it's just when Tony was the stunt double for Christian Bale, every morning they would come into makeup and those guys were in character the whole time. And he said it was totally fascinating that they just suddenly became the characters that were in the movie. And they would take that from the makeup room into the car. And one of the areas was Christian wasn't a race car driver, but he wanted to make sure he looked like one.
Got
And so what I think it's one of the coolest parts in the background is that Tony spent the time to teach him how to drive, how to handle the car and all that. And when the movie was over, Christian Bale gave him the car for free as a gift and as a thank you. I mean, it just really showed you a high quality of humanity in that one. And so he was really touched by it, that here's this really big actor, and that car's worth a lot of money on
it.
top of it.
So does your friend come with you to the car events that you go to?
No, he's a stunt double and pretty successful. He was also in the Ferrari movie. If you see that, I can send you some photos afterwards. But
Oh,
he does that full time. Tony's a great guy, though. I really, really, really respected him. And when we were young kids starting out racing together, you just don't know where this ends up. And I mean, it's cool to be able to compete with each other from time to time, but stay really good friends. And
100%.
especially after a post racing career, we're both in automotive, which is really fun to talk about when we see
Yeah.
each other.
So racing starts from, correct me if I'm wrong, but go-karting, indoor go-karting, outdoor go-karting. Where does it
Yeah.
progress from there? Is it still go-karting, but it's just at a bigger scale?
Yeah, you usually do go-karts and then you move up into professional ranks.
Yeah.
That's where we were very fortunate. And then you still go-kart on the side because they're like a gym on wheels. They really keep you in shape.
Mhm.
If you look at even every Formula One driver, most of them have a go-kart. And these aren't, by the way, these aren't the kid carts, that you drive at the playgrounds. These
Oh, yeah.
things will do 100 miles an hour, pull 3 Gs. They have shifters on them, so there's a lot of things to manage, like a bigger race car. But also, when you're sitting, you're half inch off the ground, because you're so low, the speed looks like a real race car. Like it's the same view you would have in a regular race car going 180 miles an hour. So there's a lot of things that help with the reflex and the line of sight, but also just the physicality of the race car really keeps you sharp.
Yeah. No, nice. No, impressive. I remember when I was younger, when I first went, my father, he took me to outdoor go-karting. I generally did have love for go-karting, but I just didn't go to go-karting enough. I'm not saying I would have made it to a professional league, but I'm just saying I love go-karting, like the speed and thrills. I'm into it. So it's nice.
Yeah, it's a great sport
Yeah.
and it's hard. By the way, go-kart drivers are really talented. There's a series, like especially in Europe. I mean, the European karting championships are a big deal. These guys are making a lot of money. There's a whole media base that follows them, a fan base that follows them. And these are the people who end up in Formula One or in the Porsche series or Le Mans, whatever it might be.
Nice. And relating the fact that you race professionally, it's fair to say you did
Mhm.
race professionally, right? A lot of the skills that you would have learned from racing professionally would have carried over into business life. And of course, now we're at
Absolutely.
CarIQ. But
Yeah.
just slightly before that, when did your entrepreneurship story begin?
I mean, I think it starts when you're young, right? I think with racing, you're learning how to do something on your own and you're learning how to figure it out for the first time. And at the same time, if you have passion for it. So for me, when I was in a go-kart, I had a lot of passion for it. And I wasn't very good when I started, but I knew I loved it. And so that desire to win and that desire to get better motivated me to just keep trying and figuring it out. So and that same mindset sort of carries with you. When you're in a race car, there's a lot of things to manage. You've got basically all these boxes you're trying to manage. You've got speed, competition, you've got issues, engine management, the shocks, tire grip, temperatures, your body's fading, where's the grip on the racetrack, your competitors, like all these boxes you're constantly measuring. Plus the things like, hey, I've got to enter turn one higher than I normally do. Is there enough grip? Will I hit the wall? Will I be able to maintain my position? These are the things you're thinking about in like really, really quick seconds, and you're constantly shifting. And I think entrepreneurship is very similar. You're constantly facing conditions every day that are new or different, or, quite honestly, challenge your courage, right? Do I really want to take this chance? I really need to make sure this meeting goes well, or this fundraising effort goes well, right? Because the company might go under. So there's a lot of the similar pressures that you go through,
Yeah.
and a lot of the things you have to constantly manage while you're going through that pressure.
As they say, the most famous quote, pressure, it makes diamonds.
It really does, you know, there's so much truth in that. I think especially when you go through entrepreneurship where A, you've got to raise money, B, you believe you have this really great company, but C, you don't want the company to go under. Simultaneously working, I think the thing that I learned a lot was from the Penskes, actually. So Roger Penske, Walt Zarnicki were big supporters of mine. They really helped me. And one of the most poignant pieces of information or advice they gave me was success comes in the recovery. And I really truly live by that. You know, that means like, hey, you can have a great day and do well, but some days don't go your way, and you can't walk away from that. You've got to really think about what went wrong and how do I make it better? How do I end up coming out in the right way with this? And so I live by that one quite a bit.
Yeah. I definitely am a testament to, not testament to that, but I definitely do understand exactly what you're saying, because it's like when, like, for example, let's just say if you're trying to build a new habit, let's just say if someone says that, you know, they want to get their life together, and they set themselves a goal where they're going to wake up for like the next week at 5 a.m. First 3 days they'll wake up at 5, they'll wake up at 5 a.m., but then their
Yeah.
old patterns will start to kick in. So it's like the real test is on the fourth day, is when you don't have that motivation. You need to rely on your discipline. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's an interesting concept of what you're speaking about.
You're totally right, Josh. I mean, some days you wake up and you're like, oh, man, what am I doing? And then other days you wake up, you're like, I can't wait to get going. And you're right, you've got to find that consistency through it sometimes. And that's why I do think that, you know, their advice was success comes in recovery. I really believe it. Like, just some days it just seem like you can't make it, or the challenges are insurmountable, but you find a way, you know?
No, I like that. I love the mindset. I think this is one of the reasons why we wanted to, of course, create the podcast. It was to speak with, I would say, of course, CEOs, founders, C-suite level people who, you know, built businesses, and there's information that you know that I don't, but at the same time, there's a mindset that we want to adopt. And when we are having these conversations, it's we get to get the feeling of the mindset that you have, and it's helpful for us to adopt, because it's like you want to surround yourself with, well, for us, for me, it's like we want to surround ourselves with other like-minded people. So the fact that you are speaking about these things that are related to mindset, it literally just, it relaxes my brain, but at the same time, it makes me more hungry, and I'm learning, you know? So it's just exactly what I want to be around, Sterling.
Yeah, you're 100% right. And I find like surrounding yourself with good people is really important. And also surrounding yourself with people who are equally motivated is part of it, right? I think it's really cool. I come into my office some days and like seeing the team's energy around a certain topic. Like, we just launched station controls,
Okay.
and the way people are so excited about it is it it it's very motivating to then you want to tell other people what you have or talk to a customer, because you know you're helping them solve a problem they never knew they could solve before. But also just a creative approach to it, rather than just say, hey, here's a product we created, take a look. People will embody the reasons why it's important. Why should people want to look at this thing? And that's the difference between I think the good and great conversations, and I find that highly motivating.
That's absolutely impressive. And in terms of like car IQ, I mean, off camera we were speaking a lot about cars. You're a professional racer. There's a huge interest for vintage cars as well. Car IQ. How did we get here? Yeah, how did we get here? Of course, I've done some research as well, but I mean, I want to hear it from the man himself.
Yeah, I mean, the vintage car stuff is great. I'm very fortunate to have a great father-in-law who helped me, who has similar passion, right? But then as I switch into CarIQ, you know, look, I had a successful exit prior to this, a company called AutoNet, where we put internet in the car and created a connectivity system that was both Wi-Fi and in the dash, and then a mobile app that allowed you to control your car from your phone. And I learned a lot of things in that, you know, I call 1.0 experience. I learned that no two cars were the same based on the data that was in the car and how the car had intercommunications of data. So how do you move information from a TPMS sensor to the CAN bus to the O2 sensor to the air mass meter? And I saw patterns. And so when we sold and exited AutoNet, I really wanted to take kind of a break. I took a little bit of a break to do some charity work and give back because people had always helped me.
So
But
good.
I also really believe like, hey, the future could be cars paying for things. And I'd already learned a lot about payments. And so 2.0 just sort of naturally happened. And I'll tell you really the reason why is just one day I was like, I can't believe people are still using 40-year-old credit card technology to buy dead dinosaur juice. Or they're using a debit card to pay for tolling, or you had to put this ugly box up in your car so you could cross the tolling gantry. Some people were even writing checks to pay for service. So that became the next thing I wanted to tackle, right? Is if a car is an individual, is how I looked at it. And it started kind of the V to X thinking, connect the vehicle to something. Was what if there was a way to simply connect that vehicle to the merchant and transact without using a credit card or not require a box or a debit card? How simple would that be? And that became the premise for CarIQ. So I really looked at like that. And then you're going to laugh, but the second one was when I looked at the big idea, like how big can this be? How this channel would work? I started really studying the banking channel. And what I realized was actually the most obvious, which was there's only two channels in the world. So you have $4 trillion per day of payments going through the banking system globally. And it was either consumer banking or commercial banking. And my thought was, if you could start connecting vehicles directly to merchants and pay, there would be a third channel that would form, and that's machine banking. And that was my belief, that there were hundreds of millions of IoT machines simply connected to the cloud asking for service today. Think of like copiers and all these other devices. Now you have autonomous vehicles. And the next logical step is they could connect and pay. And that became the premise for CarIQ.
Makes sense. So are you B2C or B2B?
B
B2B. Okay. That makes a lot of sense. Cool. Amazing. And how is it? Of course, yes, I would imagine you've got a network. Makes sense that of course you've got a network, but how is it people are seeing Car IQ? Like, is this through like social media, YouTube, Facebook ads? Like how are people seeing the brand?
Yeah, I think we're still solving that problem. I think as we evolve, we've kind of been a smaller company that keeps evolving, but we're starting to win the biggest deals in the world, even though
Nice.
there's only 35 of us, which is in itself is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
And what we're learning is how to talk to the market, but also how the customers listen to us. And so we have, socials working really well. We use LinkedIn profiles because our customers are fleets. And we're really targeting the CFO,
Yeah.
the controller, the accounting office. We find that's who typically makes financial decisions, and that's really where we sit. And then we're also just still learning like who else is listening and how do we get to them. We have found that some of the traditional SaaS type approaches don't work. So we definitely have figured out those things just don't work well enough.
I'm with it. I'm with it. I'm with it. I don't want this to be a silly question, but how comes you chose fleets as IQ's initial focus?
Yeah, I mean, my belief is I wanted to be in every car globally. That was, ultimately my goal.
Makes sense.
But I felt fleets were like the perfect place to start because they had the customer acquisition cost is lower. They have large numbers of vehicles. I wanted to be able to train the system. I needed to be able to build a network. So
Yeah.
fleets, I felt, were the perfect one because they have a lot of problems. So if you're a fleet operator today, you wake up every morning going, I hate my credit card and I know I've got fraud, but I can't get my finger on it. And I felt like when you talk to fleets, there's a lot of pain. And I felt like this product could solve that pain quickly. And that became sort of the premise was build this payment network for cars, enable a vehicle to connect directly to a merchant and pay, but at the same time, focus on fleets who suffer from a lot of pain and build out the network and build out the expertise. And then we'll start moving into other services like in-dash experiences and, autonomous vehicles and things like that.
Okay, amazing. So there's no, is there a credit card for this, or is it like, is there a credit card or app for this, or like, no,
No, no card whatsoever.
no card? Well,
Yeah, in fact, that was one of the biggest things is, as I mentioned, I couldn't believe people were using 40-year-old credit card technology because that's essentially what it is. But that's how every transaction works. And every payment method you see worldwide is built a method around card on files processes. And here's the problem. As soon as you use a card on file, meaning there's some sort of card number attached to the system, it automatically uses a KYC process, which is called Know Your Customer. And that's all human-based identity. And so if a machine's going to transact, there's no way to use a KYC process. So we actually figured out how to use data from the car and use that data and those links inside the vehicle to create a unique identity so the vehicle can connect directly to a merchant. And we named it KYM, Know Your Machine.
yeah, nice.
So we wanted to make it simple so people could understand the differences between the two. And that's how we started the company.
Yeah, no, solid stuff. Amazing. I kind of want to just take, it's not a huge step back, but it's just a slight step back because I know you did mention just a few moments ago fraud detection. And from what I was getting at is efficiency, basically. But what other measurable results have you seen from CarIQ that that you're buzzing about, that you're absolutely happy about?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of them. Maybe I'll tell you how it works, and then you'll understand how these other things work.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
So let me start with the card. The mental gymnastics of using a physical card today are really high. So today, when you use, say, a WEX card, a FleetCor, or Coast, or A to B, all their little friends who are using card-based solutions are the same. The vehicle drives into a gas station, as an example. The mental gymnastics are high. The driver has to get out and swipe the card, but they also have to use prompts. They have to enter in a PIN number, a VIN number, an odometer number, and sometimes a unit number of the vehicle if they're one of the larger rental fleets. And then they put gas in the car, they take a receipt, and they submit it, and they drive away. That is today's process worldwide. In our case, I wanted to change that. So in our case, by creating our identity and auth capability for the core IP, here's how it works. Today, when a car enters a gas station, and by the way, we've done hundreds and hundreds of thousands of transactions, and they all are the same. As soon as that vehicle enters the gas station, all the driver does is put in the pump number into their fleet app. They put gas in the vehicle and they drive away. That's it. And sort of in the background is where all the magic happens. So as soon as that vehicle had entered the gas station, in 4 to 5 seconds, we scan every sensor in the vehicle and we can validate that vehicle is who it says it is. We check its source of funds and we turn on the pump. That's it. So by the time the driver gets out of their car, the pump is on and waiting for them. And what's really interesting, and this is the big innovation in this, is what's happening inside. In that side of that triangle of trust that we create, we also know how big the tank is. We know how many gallons the tank has in it. We know the maximum risk of the transaction. So we can not only know that, say, this car has a 10-gallon tank, it has 5 gallons of gas in it, and it's $6 a gallon because, we're in California. It can tell the bank to only authorize a $30 transaction, but it can also tell the merchant to only allow 5 gallons of gas.
Yeah.
And so everybody now shares in the security of this transaction, and that can't happen with a card. And that's important because that triangle of trust that we create is what eliminates all the fraud, chargebacks, disputes. These are the things that fleets and merchants see every single day from credit card transactions.
Yeah. So how did you build this? Well, I'm gonna let me not ask that question yet, but
Yeah.
so it's similar to like the Amazon store to a degree. You walk into the Amazon store, you don't actually have to pay or tap for anything. It just automatically just comes out of your account. So you're
Yeah.
using some kind of similar technology. Yeah, your processes are very kind of like similar to that. That's the way I'm looking at it in my mind. On the same lines.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, very similar.
Wow. That's incredible.
Yeah. And here's what's really cool about it is you can apply this to tolling, to parking, which we're doing today. So we have tolling and parking already happening. And like in tolling is a great example. Today you have to put a transponder box in your car or a license plate reader. And the tolling agencies don't even know anything about that vehicle. They just know a box went over their line or a license plate they read. But in our case, as soon as our vehicle goes over that tolling gantry, everybody knows which car it is, how many miles are in the car, how many passengers are in the vehicle, which direction it was going, how fast it was
Yeah.
traveling. They also know other things like the last 100, 200 times it transacted, where it transacted. So the amount of information that we can surface about a transaction is exponential over a credit card. And that information we think is really valuable to the agencies as well to offer a better service, or to the fleet owner who's trying to manage thousands of transactions every month, right? So they're trying to understand, did my vehicle go across it? Is it a valid transaction? Was it during the work hours? Was it off hours, right?
Yeah.
That means a lot to a fleet owner. And these are the types of things that we can surface to a fleet that they can't do today.
Wow, this is incredible. And of course, and of course, you got so many positive use cases that back you up. So when you do go to other fleets, it's like, yeah, look, this is evidence, tangible, physical, that you guys can see. So it's not saying it's an easy pitch, but you got evidence.
Oh, absolutely. I think here's one you'll find interesting. So the evidence part you mentioned is really critical. So, what does a young company who's trying to figure it out do? We realize we have this really powerful technology. So, and customers weren't used to this, right? So imagine a fleet owner wakes up every morning going, I hate my carts because they get lost or stolen or there's fraud. And I know I've got fraud, but I can't get my finger on where and exactly how much. So, and then we show up. Remember, they're never waking up in the morning going, if I could just connect my car, it would solve all my problems. They never do that. But what we do is we learned an important lesson, which is they have the problem. Let's help them see the problem. So what we'll do with a customer, oftentimes we'll just simply connect all their vehicles to the platform and we'll monitor when there's fuel transactions or a toll transaction,
Mhm.
and we'll compare it to what their bills show. And guess what we find? Almost every time we see 12 to 18% fraud. Almost every time. And if we don't see 12 to 18% fraud, sometimes it's simply because our sample set wasn't big enough.
Got ya.
So, and what's fascinating, fraud comes in two categories. We see it as friendly fraud, or what we call drafting, where a driver will bring in and they'll fill up their fleet vehicle. But our system also sees where else it goes. And we can see that 3 to 7 gallons on average go into another vehicle.
Okay,
So that's
the fraud
mhm,
side of things.
that's fraud. We also have caught other types of fraud. So there is actually another number in here that's totally fascinating. And that is, it's no longer friendly fraud, it's real fraud, where some people will go to a gas station with their fuel card because all they need is that 4-digit PIN number to access funds. And they will give someone the card and say, give me $100 cash and I'll give you $150 in fuel. And that's what we call true fraud. And we catch both of those now.
This this is crazy. How many states are you operating in?
All states. So
Uh,
yeah, we've all states, and we've tested now in Canada, Brazil, and we're also testing in Norway and Sweden. We've been there about 9 months now.
Oh, wow, so you're coming over to Europe. It makes sense. It makes sense. You did say you've been to Germany quite a lot of times, so yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and that's what's interesting is when the fleets start to see this, then the light bulb goes off, and they're trying to think of like, hey, how else could I use this? How else could I report? Like, for instance, you'll love this. A fleet came to us one day. It's actually American Pool. They have about just under 1,000 vehicles on our platform, and they said, hey, you know what? This is really fascinating. We think that drivers are using the platform to buy expensive fuel, premium fuel, or where are they spending? And so what we learned is our system actually started monitoring. We created a monitoring tool out of it. And what we learned was that 20 to 21% of the time, drivers are actually picking the most expensive station wherever they were located for fuel. And then our system calculated in real time what that fuel expenditure was. And it turned out that it increased the cost per gallon by 36 cents per gallon when they made this decision. So when I started the company, I thought the riskiest thing you could do was actually give a credit card to a driver. But then what I really realized is the riskiest thing you can do is allow a driver to make financial decisions for their company. So we used the data from transactions to do something really fun, which was we created station controls. So we simply now, fleets can pay us a little bit extra per vehicle, and now the system will be self-monitoring. And when it sees an expensive station around the driver, it simply removes it from the map, and they can't access it. And now the fleet owner is now eliminating that 21% leakage that they see on an average monthly basis.
Oh, this is absolutely incredible. So I'm just trying to think, like, how much did you learn from AutoNet? Like, so all the stuff you learned at AutoNet, a lot of it was transferable to bring over to CarIQ. Of course, you had your time to do your product research on what you wanted to do with CarIQ as well. Because I mean, like,
Yeah.
this is like the first I've heard of this kind, and I know with AutoNet, you were also the first to put Wi-Fi in vehicles as well.
Yeah.
So wow, you're ahead of your time.
Yeah. We learned, I learned a lot. I learned at AutoNet that there's all this data in the car and it's unique. I learned that mobility and security were really important, right? Because we also invented the mobile app that can control the car. It came out with Dodge in 2011 and 12. And inside of that, what we realized, there's all these other experiences we could create based on data in and around the vehicle. And that's where the 2.0 thinking of CarIQ came in, is as we started adding vehicles to the platform, as they started transacting, we realized like there's all these other applications you can use. And today, look, all the dinosaur providers, the Wexes and the Coasts and these guys who provide cards, they provide a good service, but it's card based. In our case, what we realize is you can use the data from transactions to provide more services that are beneficial to the fleet. And so our model is not just based on interchange, it's based on interchange plus services, which makes us more flexible. And what we're learning is we can develop a much closer relationship with our customer. And that's the part I really like a lot. Our customers teach us every day about different use cases or different pain points. And then because our system's intelligent, we can simply apply it and then come up with new products. And so we have a whole list of things that we want to do next.
No, I really do want to ask what's next in the pipeline, but I will save that for a little bit later. But I find that it's a great thing that you are getting a lot of feedback from your customers, hence why you are able to, of course, plan and know what to provide them in the near future. So that's really great. So I wanted to get understanding, where does the element of artificial intelligence come into this? What just came to my mind was, so you mentioned like what I understand is there's a huge security element with this, but also
Yeah.
fraud detection that like is reduced by a lot, which is absolutely great. So is there an element
Yeah.
of artificial intelligence that's within this?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when we started it, the whole system was really built on machine learning, just, AI in the early days. Now we call it large language models. But yeah, we designed the system to be intelligent from the start. It's funny, Josh, we were actually incubated inside of Citibank. So the CIO of Citibank and another one head of strategy brought us in because they believed the future was machine banking. And to have a system that can understand what's happening in real time, you had to use artificial intelligence to do this. And so the system originally started out as using AI to create a unique identity and auth capability. But now it's grown. And so now it's grown into a position where it's now making intelligent purchasing decisions. So, and also notifying or alerting fleet owners about potential cost savings. Like, hey, here's where there's misuse, or hey, here's where inefficient spend is happening, and here's how you can change that to recoup those dollars. And our fleets are seeing a huge savings with us already with it. And that's all AI based.
Oh, that's absolutely incredible. And that is real time, real life. That's real time, like live updates basically that they are getting from AI.
Yeah, absolutely. And like our system's intelligence. So the first thing we designed in it beyond auth was when we enter a gas station, is a good example. The system actually is intelligence. The first thing it does in that triangle I mentioned is it determines, do I have a direct relationship with this merchant? If it does, it just goes ahead and connects to the pump and turns it on. If it doesn't, or let's say the pump is down or the cloud network is down, it has a backup. It'll fall back to tap to pay. But our system's not your typical tap to pay. What it does is it still goes through the auth process and uses data to validate the transaction. And we simply use tap to pay to close the transaction. So the fleet owner is still capturing all that valuable data with us and still is maintaining that security level that we have on top of it. And then we have a third one coming. We can power a physical credit card. So much how we turn tap to pay on momentarily, we can actually turn on a credit card momentarily, allow it to transact, because there are drivers who simply don't have a phone or have a dash or any access.
Yeah.
So this gives us the ability to still offer that.
Nice. So with the AI, there's basically autonomous financial decision making from the vehicles. Wow. Was that your decision, or was that like someone else's decision? Like, I wanted to get your perspective on it.
As much as I'd love to take credit, I can't. I mean, I'm part of the process because I listen to the customers quite a bit, bring the feedback in.
Makes sense.
But there's a couple of people in my company that, our CTO Arun is, big brains behind this one, always thinking about how to come up with not just new ideas, but how to apply them. Eloy he's one of our PhDs and head of data science. He's taking this information and figuring out how you can productize that. We have another guy named Khalid who's head of payments. He's our former Visa exec. So he takes sort of these ideas and says, how do we drop that onto a payment rail, and how do we innovate on the payment side of the business? So we have innovation at the vehicle level, but we also have innovation that we're applying to the payment rail side of the business, the banking side, essentially.
Yeah, no, that's amazing stuff. I know you touched on it literally just a few moments ago, but there weren't much great detail to it. But looking ahead, what's like next for CarIQ as you move beyond fleets?
Yeah, we're already looking at that now. We have auto OEMs looking at our product now. There are pre-production OEM vehicles today. I can't name the brand yet, but where this has been really cool, where they're doing is they're adding our software directly to the operating system of the vehicle. It's pretty easy now for us to do, and it creates a one-touch payment experience in the dash. And why is that important? We're learning that payments can be a luxury service. Instead of having to add your credit card and all the mental gymnastics that has to happen for the consumer, now the OEM can add payments right to the car, and they can offer it with the vehicle. So this car could come with 6 months of tolling, a month's worth of fuel, or some services. And here's what's important is what we've learned is, at first I was excited about the one-touch payment experience because I would use that. My friends would use it. My family would use it. But what we learned is the car companies don't make any money on vehicles post-manufacturing process other than the lease or financing. The dealers make money on repair, which is important. But nobody is making money on the transactions themselves. And, the average car shops for fuel 2 times a month. It might pay for tolls 4 to 5 times a month or more. It'll probably park the same amount of times. So imagine the manufacturer is missing out on the transactions that happen 12 to 15 times every month for the lifetime of that vehicle. But if they add our software into the car, now they can share in the revenue generated from every transaction of that vehicle. And we're starting to learn that's becoming a real key point, as you could imagine.
Oh, this is absolutely incredible. This must be such this is an incredible venture to be on. I gotta say.
Yeah, it's been a wild ride.
Yeah, no, nice. And you mentioned machine learning during the conversation as well. How do you kind of see that evolving over? Yeah, how do you see that evolving over time?
Yeah, I think, there's a lot we don't know yet, but I
Cool.
can say where we're going is we're using AI to not only create a more intelligent transaction, but we're also using it to surface other types of products or service offerings around it. So for instance, with Circle K, we just announced our Circle K relationship, but a big part of that is we want to be able to put intelligent offers on the platform, and we're testing it and working so that we can dynamically drop an offer for, say, a Polar Pop onto the driver platform, but make sure it's on the route of the driver. So that's something very unique. The fleet operators don't want their drivers taking offers and going 20 minutes off route because that's 20 minutes off route, it's 15 minutes at the store, and then it's 20 minutes back. So it's an hour, almost an hour wasted. In our case, we can simply look at our fleet and say which vehicles are within 10 miles of a Circle K, and then which one are on route, and we can present an offer to them a little bit more elegantly. So the driver benefits from it, the fleet benefits from it, but so does Circle K or any other merchant would benefit from this as well.
Amazing. So this
And I
is,
see that becoming more the future of this, of where we go.
I'm with you. I'm with you. I appreciate that insight. And for for people that wanted to learn more about CarIQ or learn more about yourself, where could I direct them to go?
Oh, they can, there's a couple ways. I mean, one, just go to our website at cariqpay.com. And that's a great way to get in contact with us. LinkedIn is a great way to get in contact with us. Even me personally, I'm very open to communicating and connecting with people who want to learn more or have good ideas. It's incredible about what the community can do with, hey, here's an idea, here's an area I could use some help in, and use sort of thought sharing works really well. But those are the best two.
Amazing stuff. I'll be sure to link that below so we can advise people to click those links and they can find out further information. But yeah, I know we do have an audience that is based in the US as well, so I'm pretty sure that they will be, well, if they were to have a little look at this, they will be coming to you guys to find out any relevant information. Or if it is a fleet company, they could reach out to you. But in terms of like Europe, that's where you're looking to expand to next. So that's potentially going to be something really, really, really exciting. And yeah, I'm definitely going to be watching. Not from the sidelines, might be involved. Who knows? But yeah, we're going to be supporting. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Well, thank you for taking the time. We're pretty excited about it. And I appreciate the open thoughts and everything. It was pretty fun.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, guys, it wasn't recorded, but I mean, off camera was like it was incredible. But yeah, it was a little bit different today, but I enjoy it. It was very authentic and very raw. And yeah, all I can say, Sterling, I appreciate you for jumping on today's podcast. It was a great conversation. I feel like we gelled, and yeah, I felt like it was in sync. So it was nice. It was a great flowing
Yeah.
conversation.
Yeah. Thank you. I like them when the discussions can be interactive and stuff.
Yeah,
So thank you for that too, because it makes a big difference. It helps bring out thoughts. Hopefully I was in line with things you were looking for and everything. So
you was in line. We was aligned. Let's put it that way. Okay, you was aligned.
yeah, and I appreciate you letting us come on and share it too. When you ask the marketing question, I mean, I think that's the bigger thing is we're now turning marketing on. We're now trying to figure out and having the ability to communicate with people directly, I think is really
Yeah,
important. These conversations I think are important. So we're looking at how do we do more things like this as well.
100%. Yeah, certainly, certainly, certainly. Marketing is huge. Marketing is certainly huge. I was speaking to a company today. They were based in, I believe, in New York. We actually had a conversation with them a few moments ago. And because she basically just helps people that are providing services to clients that are in a B2B space. And she said,
Hmm.
just as you are growing, just make sure you're making the relevant changes to your marketing as well. So, like the messages shouldn't be the same from when you start to when you finish. Don't get me wrong, there might be a slogan, but as you are
Yeah.
evolving, make sure your marketing and your messaging also evolves as you go along as well. So that'll probably be some of my advice to you with what I got
Yeah.
today.
Yeah, that's great advice. Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, thank you so much. I do appreciate the conversation and look forward to more thoughts or chatting with you again, of course, in the future too.
Yeah, 100%. Sterling, thank you so much for hopping on. And guys, that's been another episode of the Navvai Shift. And all of Sterling's information will be in the description below. And yeah, we'll catch you on the next one. Thank you, Sterling.
All right. Thank you. Take care.
See ya. Wow.